Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're doing a summary of the latest letter from the producer live. We're going to be looking at the unofficial translations provided by the Final Fantasy XIV Reddit Discord. Thank you to Miyuna and Iluna Minori. I always have a hard time saying both those names back to back for their work that they put in during the live letter itself. Some great pictures from Iluna especially. We got some great meme templates that I've been tweeting up and I've been getting tweets back from all morning. This live letter was straight to the point with pretty much everything. There wasn't a lot of fluff anywhere, especially because we have FanFest coming up. Anything in regards to guests and developers there will be there and not here. And I kind of appreciate that because I meant for a nice, crisp, just about 2.5 hour live letter. So as we go through this, they started with the trailer. We'll do a trailer breakdown separately. There's a lot to say about what we see in there, from the Nier to the Boja related stuff to, of course, the MSQ and where we'll be going in 5.5 and how difficult the wait for part 2 is probably going to be. Probably the most exciting thing for me to just show with the screenshot here that's in the Discord, our girl. I mean, there's more to that in the trailer, but seeing our girl is always a good time. They passed 22 million registered accounts, 22 million players, as I like to put it, the little PR spin on it. Not a representation of active subs, but still an accomplishment nonetheless. I remember when it was not even at 10 million. So at the very least, it's been growing over the past several years. So they were moving forward, just going over the fact that they are adhering by COVID guidelines, and then they just immediately get into patch 5.5 related stuff. So they announced in the previous live letter, patch 5.5 is slated for Tuesday, April 13th. Part 2 will be end of May, so approximately 6 weeks that we'll be waiting. It'll be, a week or two after we get the Fan Festival, and the Fan Festival itself does have a live letter that will have more stuff about Part 2. Most likely Zador being one of the major things that it actually goes over. The trailer, live in all languages, that's all that screenshot means. They watched the trailer a second time. The trailer does include stuff from part 2 of 5.5. That should be fairly obvious given that there's quite some things that happen in there. Again, I don't want to go too much into that here because it's definitely something to bring up and talk about a good bit more in the trailer breakdown video. Now, they always start with a recap of things and maybe add in a few more comments or a screenshot here and there. The new dungeon supports a trust system, of course. No one's really surprised by that, and we know we're going to get trust in the next expansion. Going over things like the Japanese fight name, so like Diamond Weapon is called Diamond Weapon Capture Operation, whereas Ruby and Emerald were called Ruby and Emerald Weapon Destroying Operations, which... curious to see. Sid's become a little bit of a crazy mad scientist since all this mech stuff got involved, and that's something to definitely talk about a little bit later. So, him capturing one. Sid, listen, I don't need you to go all crazy there, and I don't need Nero to get anywhere near any of this stuff either, so I'm gonna need you to relax. So Cloud Deck Extreme. We have the name for the third Yorha raid, the Tower at Paradigm's Breach, which Nier fans will get a little bit more of a peek into and will recognize the setting if you have played Automata. To no one's surprise at all. It's the hacker place, you'll see. Anyway, Diamond Weapon, Save the Queen Part 2 will be in Part 2 of the patch. Job adjustments, just a few number tweaks. They said Dragoon and Warrior get it like a light buff. They said they're not nerfing any jobs. There's really no point in doing much job adjustment before the expansion, especially because there's no ultimate. Feast, Season 18 ending, Season 19 beginning. Move that along. Unreal Trial being swapped out, another thing that we, fully expected. There's going to be more crafting and gathering stuff. One of the big ones, a list of fish to be released at fishing holes will be added. That's going to be great for fishermen looking to track down all the achievements and all of the different fish. Maps opened via the gathering log will indicate areas where the gathering points appear. Another big quality of life, especially for anyone who's new to the game and doesn't have those kind of things ingrained into their mind like the longtime players actually do. Also, more challenging expert recipes. I don't know why, but people have been asking for that to move into other parts of the game to have a consistent long-term, more difficult crafting in the game. How it'll be incorporated, those kind of still a mystery. We don't really know if it'll tie that much into the new Ishgard stuff because there is new Ishgard stuff. But it'll be even more challenging, apparently. And in a recent interview, Yoshida said that you will need pretty much maxed melds and stuff if you really want to participate in all that much. New message. We're going to mark that as red. You're getting in the way of my video here. But thank you to our translators, because they're probably posting edits at the very bottom. So that means there'll be more to look forward to. It says update to Ishgard Restoration. This was fun. The restoration is completed, so see you in Garlemald. I predicted Garlemald restoration, and seeing that looks like not as much of a joke to me. This is real distracting, having this thing moving all the time. There we go. I have to not be hovered over it the whole time. So then we scroll down here, we have just, again, this is exactly what we just went over. The new custom delivery client is Count Charlemagne de Durender. So fancy pants, basically. And they don't mention whether or not you can redress him, but with how fancy he's dressed, I don't know if he'll allow that. So they make no mention of it at all, so it's hard to say. Triple Triad updates, they already mentioned this stuff from before. Acquisition rates on certain cards going up, a reward for all of the cards up to 5.55. Obviously, that achievement becomes easier when more cards are added, because it's not all the cards forever, it's just all the cards in that specific patch that is available up to that specific patch. A lot of cards, by the way. And sorry my nose itches, because my beard hairs are starting to grow back and it's getting in the way. Adjusting the use of 4-star cards and decks. I just want to use more than 1 4 or 5. Just let me just unlock 4 stars. Make it 1 5-star, please. That's it. That's all I want. It's all I've ever wanted. Explorer mode, level 70 dungeons, level sync and item level sync can now be disabled, and instruments can be used in Explorer. They went over that in the previous live letter as well. They did also have, I think here we go. And then there's a screenshot here. All these translations kind of deal with some additional stuff. But most specifically right here, new indicators for bonuses while ocean fishing will be added. So bonuses while ocean fishing. So that means one of two things. It either means an actual timer for spectrals, which lasts 2 minutes, I believe, if you just got one and you didn't miss one in the route prior, and 3 minutes if the last one was cut short, or if you didn't get one in the previous stop. The only other thing it could track is like how many percentage-based bonuses you have. So like if you've earned a percentage-based bonus, like a 5, a 10, or a 20, it'll track that in a menu somewhere so you have a more accurate point read. I'd have to imagine it's one of those two things. Personally, as much as the timer for spectrals is pretty easy to track, that's the one I would prefer to have more, because the bonuses just kind of rack up and you get used to them without even really thinking about them all that much. Might help with people going after like the octopus stuff and the various titled achievements for catching a certain number of fish though. So there's room for both of them. We'll have the trial mount for getting all of the trial mounts from the 5.x series. New prizes at the Gold Saucer. They even said that originally those prizes were going to go on the Mog Station, and they've said move them to the Gold Saucer, which is nice to see, because that's been a common criticism of the Mog Station, that, they could have just put this in the Gold Saucer. So first time we've really gotten a confirmed case of them actually choosing to do one over the other, because it's two completely different teams who work on mounts for the game and mounts for the Mog Station. So curious to see what that actually leads to in the future. Hotbar slots can now be saved when editing an active set for Blue Mage. Yeah, wish we'd had that before the level 70 update, not after, but I guess for the level 80 update it'll help. Possible to accept achievement rewards from the achievement list. So that means Jonas is out of a job. You still need to go to him for veteran rewards for achievement certificate related stuff. But for just collecting any of these various achievements, you can pick them up right from here. Big quality of life. Jonas, don't worry, you're not completely out of a job, but I'm going to be visiting you far, far less. And then they also mentioned how there was a brief mention of the Regalia returning. So they've been talking about the 15 event returning. This was mentioned alongside the Gold Saucer, though, so I'm curious if they're just going to put the Regalia in the Gold Saucer at some point, or if they will actually just have the 15 event return in its whole. I think they should just return the 15 event altogether. It's not like it's too complicated of an event to do or anything along those lines. Also, apparently, the instrument that they're adding for performance was delayed due to reasons. They didn't give us any specific ones, but it will be, I'd imagine, it says that it was originally planned for 5.5. I don't know if that means it's going to be in 5.51, 5.55, or 6.0. I don't know. But the instrument was delayed. I don't know if that's, maybe they were working on the 3D audio for the PS5 and that got in the way. Scrolling down, still in charge of veteran rewards. Collision detected will be updated. They actually spent a not insignificant amount of time explaining this. So Final Fantasy XIV's, we talk about how it's kind of built on a jank thrown together system that's only barely holding the game together at times, it feels like. And this is kind of one of those things that is being updated from the old system. So with the old system that was in place, if you went over 60 frames per second, it could cause some major issues, one of which you could actually clip into walls and do out-of-bounds tricks that were only available when you would go over 60 frames per second. That means they had to completely redo how client and server data is transferred between each other, so the game can more steadily run at frame rates higher than 60 frames per second. So basically, if you're someone who plays at over 60 FPS, this should be an improvement for you overall. They did also make mention somewhere else here that other changes that they made to the data transfer will actually affect load times. They mentioned this when talking about the PS5 Beta and how they showed off how it had like about a 3-second approximate load time going between zones. And it's going to vary, obviously, you know, depending on server congestion or whether you're going into an instant server or another open world server. Those just have different ways of processing the data. But they said because of this, they've optimized that data transfer. So even PC players who are on an SSD should see a somewhat of an increase to, or somewhat of a reduced load time, I should say. Increase in performance would have been a better way to put that. That's something that we'll get to a little bit later. They did a little bit of an explanation here. However, the big thing with this is that because of that collision detection change, that floating items in housing probably won't be possible after the collision update. They said they tried to keep some of the jankier stuff for housing wherever they could, and if something broke, let them know. This means that over time we might actually get more functionality similar to the floating item glitches that people were doing in housing later on. But that the immediate result is going to be issues with floating items. I'd imagine I don't know what's going to happen if they're already that way, but making them that way after the patch should actually be harder or impossible, according to this. There's a few more things, but it's easier to show them in game. They were talking about other things they're going to be showing in this live letter. Cloud Deck, he actually refused to pull the boss, probably because of the initial text that will pop up. I don't know why he doesn't just turn his UI off and start doing that, but his choice, not mine. And so we learned that the G-Warrior is the arena. They did say we weren't done with the G-Warrior quite yet, and that is definitely a way to improve the G-Warrior. It's weaponized, it can fly, it can do everything. So the G-Warrior is going to be fighting on the back. We know from the screenshots and from the trailer that either there's another G-Warrior that acts as another platform. I think this arena just splits in half. You can see the seam down the middle. However, the platforms that would be used for jumping, there aren't that many of them. So I'm wondering if it is just another platform that flies up. I have a feeling this one just splits in half is all that it actually ends up being. I'd assume that you have to choose the side based on the side that's going to be attacked. And that if you're on the wrong side, you'll just be killed. So didn't want to. She showed a really cool cutscene. Unfortunately, we're not going to be watching that in this summary video. You can fall off, of course. Then no one's surprised there. Probably, yeah. And then, of course, Aluna with the references. The G-Warrior herself without the attachment is probably a reference to the GP03S Dendrobium Stamen. Your G-Warrior may be a reference to Dendrobium Orcus, a mobile armor first appeared in Mobile Suit Gundam. This was not part of the translation. Aluna just was immediately able to recognize that and throw that little tidbit of information in there. Thank you. There are no positionals, but one thing they did take this opportunity to show off that unfortunately is not super present in the screenshots here. They're making an update, a quality of life update to target markers around enemies. There's going to be arrows on the left and right flanks now that show you the direction the enemy is actually facing. So in case you need an exact count, that basically acts as the entire front half of the boss versus the back half. Great for detecting where you need to be for certain mechanics, knowing whether you're off more information, and that's always a good thing. It works on both enemies that have positionals and enemies that are omnidirectional. Omnidirectional enemies also have the arrow that's normally the front of the boss is actually in the hitbox as opposed to protruding like it is normally for enemies that are not omnidirectional. Huge quality of life thing. In any of the content where monsters are omnidirectional, honestly, deep dungeon soloing comes to mind. There's aggro types in there, and people try to walk behind enemies to avoid side aggro. Now they'll have exact information about what direction the enemy is facing and what their cone of vision actually is. So that actually is a big thing. It's useful in a ton of other places, but that's one of the probably most important places that information can be used. You can fall off as you saw. Just wanted to show you the atmosphere. Okay, we just got to scroll back past all this. He makes a few mentions of where that change is going to be rather important, and then moves into talking about Ishgard. So Ishgard has no more competitive leaderboards. There's no more of those 10-day periods where you have to compete to be in the top spot. But it will have what's called the Skyrise Celebration, and there will be basically crafter and gatherer fates available there. I'd assume crafter fates entirely, not gathering at all. Basically, every 2 days, a 24-hour celebration will begin, and these fates will occur every 2 hours within them. By participating in a fate, you obtain boxes with random rewards in them, and while there can be fireworks, there can probably also be some other fun stuff in there as well. New minions, new mount, probably the usual things you'd expect from an Ishgard update. And then it'll also be fun and festive, so that's always a good thing as well. Yes, here, later on, it shows you can see the arrow that's right there as an example, so that works out pretty well. And then, yeah, okay, moving on. They said the events are for crafters and gatherers, so I'll trust in that, but we'll see if gatherers are actually a part of it or not. I'd assume it's a lot like the original ones, where your actual like stats and stuff don't matter, but we'll find out. I hear a doggo barking. Well, that's pretty early, and I'm being pretty loud, so that's probably me. Yeah, competitive events for crafters and gatherers. I don't know. I wonder if it is actually like mini evaluation periods, because it does say competitive event, meaning that placing higher would probably reward you better in those short little events. They might be. That would actually make a lot of sense, but I don't know if they will be. We'll have to wait and find out. Then they went on to the PS5 version, the faster loading times, the display compatibilities, the high-resolution UI, the haptic feedback, additional trophies, which is a big thing for a lot of people, and 3D audio. So you can actually hear like the directions of footsteps and where attacks are coming from if you're wearing like a surround sound headset or something like that. He did just go in here. We got some great meme templates. Like there's some great meme templates here. You know, they zoomed in on the UI. There's a meme template. That's one of them that I've seen tweeted around a little bit. The new bonfire minion, which they did talk about in a recent interview. You can carry that around with you wherever you go. Place it wherever a minion is allowed to be placed. Sat down next to it, just showing the new user interface, or the PS5 user interface. I can see it in all its PS5 glory. They showed off the target indicators. Again, he spoke a little bit here about how the arrow is protruding here because it does have positionals, the thing I explained earlier, basically. And it should help with boss positionals and just understanding where the bosses are facing altogether. If anyone thought these looked faster than on PC load times will improve as well, assuming you use an SSD. Yes, and that is because of this improved connection that they had to make for the collision detection update. So I'm looking forward to that. I play on an SSD, and anyone who does will probably get to enjoy those slightly faster load times as well. I wonder how much faster it can really get. My load times are only like 4 seconds now. So then he started going through, showing off some minions and some mounts. There's the little robot from the new Nier raids, and there's a little pyramid-looking thing. There's a dolphin right here. There's the bonfire. You can see on the mount side, you can see a couple of antelopes. You can see the scree and the wasoi, as I like to call it. I know it's not called the wasoi. I call it the wasoi. Lunar whale, the gwibber from Diamond Weapon, and of course, the mount that I'll be looking forward to the most, the dragon mecha god mount thing that is super, super large. Not a great screenshot of it to show it off. It really is something you need to see in motion. But this thing is massive, and it is anime as hell. I just need the Diamond Weapon mount, and I'm pretty much all set. I have 99 totems for Warrior of Light and Emerald, at the very least. Gwibber, on the other hand, still looks good. Normal size mount. Does not scale up like the Mecha Dragon God does. But still a nice looking mount. All of the, if you go back and look at all of the Dragon mounts, all the Gwibbers, they actually some pretty unique details to each of them that actually gives them all their own flavor, and I quite like it. Then they showed off a new category of mount. So you can see here we have what I'm calling the Golden Scree, Pot of Screed, if you prefer. And then we also have the Golden Wasoi. Again, no, it's not called the Wasoi. I just like to yell Wasoi. And I thought these were going to be the new Gold Saucer mounts, or they were going to be available from Ishgard, because he's like, celebration, as the translation said, and we know it's called the Skyrise Celebration. These are purchased with Gil. These are Gil Sync mounts. I've been asking for these for ages. And they're just going to be very, very expensive Gil mounts. Now, he doesn't say how expensive. He says they're not only 1 or 2 million Gil. He says they're more expensive than that. I'll tell you that. But we didn't get an exact price. He also said the mounts are not all the same price. So not to expect a standard like every single time they add a Gil Sync mount for it to be the same price. And that's another meme template, by the way, but I think the other one works a little bit better. But I'm going to buy both of them. So that's enough. These are all... Yoshi P, you can't put yourself next to a TV screen like this. It's it's too good. It's too good. As someone with two... There's the one. That's the one. That's the one. that I like. So I'm hoping these will be a decent gil sync. I have 230 million gil and I really don't have much to spend it on, but no price mentioned, just more expensive than 1 or 2 million gil. So 10 million, 25, 50, 100, who knows. A few more things on the PS5 version. Beta will begin Tuesday, April 13th once maintenance concludes. It can be preloaded. They did confirm that as well. Current PS4 players will get a free update to the PS5 Upgrade Edition, and new players, there will be a PS5 free trial available as of April 13th. Even though it's only an open beta, you can still download it for the free trial itself. However, please save your HUDs on your PS4 to the server so you can use them on your PS5. This is a big reminder. If you are going from PS4 to PS5, do not forget to save them to the server before loading up the PS5 version, because once you do, you cannot go back to the PS4 version, and you don't want to have to make that mistake because that will make you insane. So don't forget to do this, please. They said they don't expect any major bugs. They'll probably be in full release within like 2 or 3 weeks, so that's fine. They then also miscellaneous updates, loading times will be sped up on all platforms, high resolution UI added to the window version, the pricey new mounts available in game using Gil, and arrows showing which direction. This is a good side-by-side example. See the inside arrow for omnidirectional enemies versus the outside arrow for non-omnidirectional. This is probably the best example of it that we have here. Then they took a quick break. They showed us those incredible free trial ads that they put out like a month or so ago. The job summaries, this is again overall numbers adjustments, both buffs to both Warrior and Dragoon, and all major changes that they couldn't make to any jobs will be in 6.0, as we expected. Then they went into the tower at Paradigm's Breach, which again should seem quite familiar to people who are fans of the Nier series. He really tried to avoid spoilers, so he just got a few screenshots of the very textureless area, and it's thematically textureless, but textureless all the same. He's trying to be very, very careful not to trigger any dialogue on screen, because again, I guess turning off the UI is not sufficient enough for that. I don't know. I guess he's still worried that he won't know when to turn the UI back on, which I guess is a fair thing to be concerned about. Then he just showed real quick you can fall off the first boss platform, and he didn't show anything about the boss itself, probably again trying to avoid any spoilers, just that it has an enormous hitbox, and the arena itself is also fairly enormous. So you can see the new marker. The boss name, however, is the Jack of Hearts, and he said please enjoy the atmosphere of the dungeon. The Alliance raid will be available after maintenance, and there will be a weekly quest for it as well. There's no real surprise there because we expect to be able to weekly get upgrade materials for that. Whether or not there's another weekly quest that's more impactful, again, we're suspecting some New Game Plus shenanigans. Anyone who's played Nier and just expects it. So who knows if that maybe ties into something. Who knows? As for the gear, the first one I was immediately like, oh, for the love of God, no, I can't do it. I can't do it again. But fortunately, the other two sets were pretty good. This set's really good. This is a Nier set. As people have told me, these are the twins. These are twin gears. So that's something that thankfully is not a black trench coat or black coat of some kind. So I'm content with that at the very least. I'm not much on Glamour, but if I saw any more black trench coats, I was going to lose my mind, because I can only deal with so much. They did also give us a preview of one of the songs. As you can see, this will probably be a character that you're all looking forward to, learning why their theme is there. If it's just there for, thematic purpose, or if it's just there as a background. You have to wait and find out. They really wouldn't let us. They wouldn't tell us anything. Unreal was confirmed to be Leviathan. I was torn. Before this week, I would have guessed Rumble. After the interview came out from a few days ago, they said that there would be a lot of responsibility on main tank and off tank, as well as the two healers. The guesses were between Ifrit and Leviathan when they said that. Leviathan being kind of the one that made the most sense, and Leviathan ended up being the winner. So I'll take second place, because I did firmly lock in Ifrit after the interviews earlier this week. So apparently in an interview, they said it was more difficult than they expected, so it's not as tightly tuned as Titan was, for example. You got to remember, when people speak about their Realm Reborn experiences, a lot of us were over-geared for these, and we didn't have the same party finder tools or the same experiences back then that we would have now. So I think Leviathan will be mostly okay for party finder here. The permanent fall off, I'd assume, stayed. I don't think they mentioned it here, but you could permanently fall off Leviathan just like Titan back then, and they kept it for Titan, so I'd like to assume they kept it for Leviathan as well. So yeah, they'll see. We'll see how much it's tuned down versus Titan. Because Titan wasn't really tightly tuned, but I wouldn't say it was tuned down either. Shiva was probably the one that felt the most tightly tuned of all the Unreals that we've actually had. The reflect damage was really high. Yeah, it was really high back then too, because I used to put dots up as a bard and just ignore the reflect damage and be like, healers, give me 1 heal so I can double dot. Maybe don't want to do that based on what he's describing right here. Don't forget about things like stunning the ads before they start casting Dreadstorm. You cannot stun it once it starts casting. So you got to make sure the puddles don't get cast. You got to make sure the room-wide AoE doesn't get cast. And you got to burst those big boys down pretty quick. He did mention that maybe we would see Sephiroth as the Unreal Trial in 6.0, but for now, it's just going to be Leviathan. They also did a brief overview for Save the Queen, showed us a few pictures of Zador. There is a live letter during FanFest where they will most likely cover this in more detail, as they say right here. This zone's a lot more open, it's a lot more airy, it's not as brown, which, you know, matched the World War-esque aesthetic that they were going for in Bozja, but that can get pretty grating when you've been in there for as long as I have. They did also clarify a few things. What is Zador? Where is it? It's on the border of the occupied Dalmasca in the northeast of Bozja. That is where it is. It is here that the 4th Legion will make its stand, the battle for Bozja reaching its bloody climax. Now for me, the most important thing is right here next to my head. 5.4 MSQ is required for this. So one of the events there, whether it be the removal of primal tempering, if that's one of the aspects that we have to work on, or that has to be relevant here, or if the state of the Empire is of at least relevance for the continuity of what is happening in here. I don't think we're done with Gabranth by the time this is all said and done, so I have a feeling that that's another big reason why 5.4 MSQ is required, but come on. Like, you're not going to have the 5.4 MSQ done. Like, what are you even doing at this point? Come on. You know you're going to have it done, so it's not like it's that much of a big deal. You do also need 5.45 Save the Queen done. That just means normal mode Delibram. You don't need Savage. Don't worry about that. You also do not have to be Resistance rank 15 to progress into Zador. Only the story is required, which means technically Resistance rank 10 is the required amount, because that is what is required to do Castrum Lacus Litore. Now, as for other updates, Resistance rank will be increased from 15 to 25. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a few points, because they also make mention of elements of progression beyond rank 25 being implemented. As a Final Fantasy XI player of old, I can't help but think merit points. For those of you who are looking for a more modern comparison, I'd assume Paragon levels would be probably a better comparison point, but basically, your character can keep getting stronger. Now that's strange, because Resistance rank doesn't make you stronger currently. It increases your holster size, the actions you can actually use, and is used for story progression. So it implies that this will be their big catch-up mechanic for people who haven't done Delibram Savage. This is going to make it a lot easier to have these additional stats. And even Yoshida says that if you thought your damage was big before with some of the combinations you could do, just wait until you get past rank 25 and you start progressing further at that point. There will be new skirmishes, new critical engagements, new duels was confirmed. Also, the Dalriada, the new large-scale assault, that is like Castrum, that is not like Delibram, will also be added. That's essentially the climax of the story itself, where the final battle will be taking place. There's a lot of it in the trailer as well. Now, DR Savage will continue to be the highest difficulty content in the Save the Queen, and it will be in 5.55. However, any of the quality of life adjustments they're going to be making are going to be made before that. So in 5.5 itself, here are the adjustments that will be made to the existing Save the Queen content. A means to increase mount speed will be added. Oh, my prayers have been heard. Holy moly. Okay, yeah, thanks. That's a big one. Skirmishes and critical engagements will be adjusted for fewer participants. So people may not know this, but skirmishes and critical engagements currently do scale based on the number of people who queue in. However, they don't scale below 8 people. So if you have 2, 3, or 4, it can still be pretty tough. Most of the time you can make up that difference with actions, but they're not deliberately scaled to less than that. This probably will allow them to scale all the way down to, maybe all the way down to 1 person. I think it'll just go down to 4 people, personally. I don't know how dynamic they really want it to be or what the breakpoints are for the scaling, but it will be easier to low man a lot of that stuff. So in case you were having issues with that, like a dead instance or something. The availability of Castrum Lacus Litore, and of course of Dalriaba as well, because it does say etc. So I'd assume that it would include that. will be adjusted. Currently, an hour after an instance opens, cash room opens, and then it's every 90 minutes after that, I believe. So I'd imagine it would go down to 30 minutes, maybe 60 and 30, or 30 and 30 just for both of those situations. But cash room will happen more frequently, is basically all that's trying to say. Now, actually, it doesn't say that. It says availability is going up, so it could also be that it's going up to 72 people. I don't think that'll be the case. I do think the frequency will be the thing they increase, but who knows? Maybe it'll be both. Just as availability. Doesn't get more specific than that. Chances of being selected for duels will now increase upon non-selection. So I'd assume you have to stay in the instance for this. But if you try to get into a duel and fail, and as long as and then you try to get into another duel, the odds will go up. So it basically gives you priority queue. So sticking around and doing all those multiple duels in a zone should yield a better result. But it's, I mean, if it's the same 10 people queuing into all of them, then it's going to be 9 people have a better chance and 8 people have a better chance. So at the very least, you shouldn't be worried too much if it's your second or third duel in the zone, and like somebody who didn't even attempt the other ones, they probably won't get priority over you, is probably what it's saying. And also, big one, Deliberate Regimenting Savage can now be entered with at least 24 people. You don't need a solid 48. Now, in a recent interview, he did say that Deliberate Savage would be tougher with less than 48 people. Now, I don't know if that's because the numbers aren't scaling or if it's because the mechanics aren't downscaling. Now, if the mechanics aren't downscaling, that makes slimes and golems kind of a pain, because I don't want to do slimes with 12 people. Honestly, probably not that bad to do with 12 people, but splitting 12 and 12 for that seems kind of rough. So going in realistically more with like 32 or 40 or, even something like 35, having like one stray party that does stuff. That's going to be more the stuff I imagine is going to be possible here. However, with the merit point system or the Paragon level system, whatever the heck it's going to be, it might, who knows, maybe it is that much easier to have all those extra stats, and that should help people, especially with helping new people through. I'm definitely going to be seeing what it's like. I'm going to be making sure to rank up past 25, go back to DR Savage, and see just how much of a difference we can really notice with some of the changes. They did also say there will be new lost actions, so it should be easier with those actions as well. Let's see. Minimum of 24 required. When you unlock Zador, you'll unlock the last step of the resistance weapon. So the last step has something kind of similar to the previous step, the one that we currently have in 5.4. So you'll unlock it, you'll be able to progress through it with the customizable stats. These will of course be better than Savage weapons. That's always the case at the end of expansions. However, once one has been upgraded, the process for upgrading further weapons will be different. Now, it's not just different, it's very similar to what we did in 5.4, where you have that first step to get the loathsomes. Then you have that one-time middle step to do the Fates or to do the Heavensward Stormblood 24-mans. And then you have the final step to get the Time Warns with Delibram or Palace of the Dead. That middle step was only one time. According to Yoshi P, there's going to be another one-time step here. And then you'll only have to do the step that comes after that if you want to redo another weapon. Which I assume will be to gather things from either Delibram or Critical Engagements or Dal Ryaba or something like that. So... in other words, the first weapon will take a little bit longer. The rest of the weapons will be shorter. So I kind of like that system for the current step, as it's encouraged me to get a lot more weapons done. Now, this was mean. They pushed Ultimate from 5.5 to 6.1. This has been a hot topic. I released a video about it the other day, but they still decided to show us a screenshot. Which I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you reignite the flame? Oh man, speaking of flames, sickness must be purged, because the first part of Dragon Song War Ultimate, our gate boss, is the Voltimate. So the first step, our first boss, is 3 of the knights, the 3 knights from the vault. Now this is both a surprise and not a surprise. So they've never used a 4-man boss, a boss that is primarily 4-man, for an Ultimate encounter before. However, these exact 3 knights are in Thornton's actual encounter, so it's actually less of a stretch than it seems. But I'm going to start leaving open the possibility of 4-man bosses being incorporated into these. And no, I don't consider the 4-man variants of Garuda, Ifrit, and Titan when they have hard modes and extreme modes before that. So this is definitely a unique case with them. So remember, it is Dragon Song War, which assumes this Thornton, Nidhogg, all likely to be involved. This is a great initial set piece for it, and that arena is already looking kinda spicy. Not gonna live. So that'll be in 6.1. Then they showed off some housing stuff. The new houses, I love this look. I don't do housing at all, but I'm a big fan of this look. Not to mention the ladder, being able to get to the balcony. It's a very vertical house design, even before considering the what are they called? The furnishings themselves that you would be putting on the outside. They did show some more like Forge-esque stuff, so it's got a very crystalline mean kind of feel. Way too many violins on those shelves back there. A giant book and a baby shark plush. You can see that Gestal is having a little bit too much fun in the picture in the back, and that there's windows. Basically, they're incorporating like windows and screens that you can like set a background to. It's probably not a custom background. It's probably like a preset, and they really only show Azim's step in all of these screenshots they have right here. But something that makes it seem like your house is in a location. That's another meme template right there. I didn't even think about that. That's another good one. You can see like there's one window that has like kind of that grainy background, and then the other one is the Azim step. So it'll basically allow you to make it from the inside, pretend your house is somewhere it isn't actually there. They did show these are probably new crafted glamours, probably from, maps like we always get. They almost always show us that. They go back, show us more pictures of that. And then that's it for game features. Then they went on to talk about the Fan Festival event that's taking place on the 15th and the 16th. Now, we did a video about this already. The website has a whole bunch of updates of stuff that's going to be both in-game and out-of-game panels, but it was good to get a little bit more confirmation about the various things you can purchase on the 14th, or when Live Letter starts, basically, or when FanFest begins, you can purchase these various things. So here in the States, that would be the 14th on the evening. In Europe, that's going to be early on the 15th. In Japan, that's going to be early to midday on the 15th as well. So you have the 8-seater mount with the Lunar Whale. You have the 3 minions, Edge, Rosa, and Rydia. You have the orchestrion rolls, which have 10 songs from the... How many songs did I say was on Scions and Sinners? I think there's 18 songs on Scions and Sinners. Yeah, 18 songs on this. Is that 18? No, that's 19. There's 19 songs on here. And it's basically half of Pulse and half of Scions and Sinners. Unfortunately, Return to Oblivion Sinners Edition is not here. But you know what? That's fine, because it is on the piano section, the one from Keiko. Then they did also cover some of the other differences that are going to be there. All of the stage events will be broadcast live. Most of them will have a translator on the stream. I was wondering, oh man, which one's not going to have a translator? And then I realized the concert doesn't need a translator. So I'm hoping the concert's the only one that doesn't have a translator, and that I'm not just set myself up for feeling dumb for a moment and instead feeling dumb for 6 weeks. There will start with the opening keynote. That's going to be where you find out about the next Melee job. That's where you're going to find out about more Endwalker related stuff. So that's going to be a big one. I don't think they'll do job actions. People have been asking me if I think that. No, I think job actions will happen probably closer to a month or a month and a half before the actual expansion release, kind of around when the normal media tour would be prior. It's normally in May, and then it releases, it actually releases, late June, early July. So that's usually, it's about a month and a half. So that's when I expect we'll probably find out about job actions and stuff like that. Now, Key's Room, he's going to have some special guests talking about the game. I hope that one's translated, because that's one I always miss out on, because it never has a translator. How do you like Heidelin? Another event that they detailed. The development panel, which is always a really fun one. Heidelin Exploration Team will be on stage. That'll end with the piano performance, and then we'll have day 2, Letter from the Producer Live. That will be about 5.55, and they will have a developer with them to answer questions in the second half. They will also have Glamour to Life Showcase. This is a more casual attire friendly cosplay contest. They say even if it's just like a really basic interpretation of a character, they want to encourage you to get involved with it all the same. They do show an example a little bit later down, I think. We might not have we don't have a screenshot of it, but they showed somebody with just one of their development members with a little hat, that represents a certain character. And then they showed Foxclawn, who the image of him dressed as a Sin Eater will never leave my mind, and I don't think it'll ever leave Soken's mind either. There's going to be a live Q&A, which are going to collect some questions from the forums and whatnot, and then answer them live on stage. That is Peaches, as I like to call it. Flashback with the cast, rewatching and re-experience old scenes with the voice actors themselves, and asking them to redo them live on stage. That's got to be terrifying for them to do. But I guess they're not in front of a physical crowd. I think they said, weren't they going to try to do limited people, like a lottery system, to like let a limited number in or something. I think I remember them announcing that in the last week or so, but that's very much a pending thing if I recall correctly. And then apparently the drummer for the band won't be there. They have a different drummer, but their normal drummer has a scheduling conflict with their main band. I assume that won't really affect the quality of it all, because we know Soken's going to make sure that drummer gets it right, and they're professionals anyway. So you can't imagine that's going to be too much different from what we've come to expect from the Primals concerts. But they just wanted to make sure that we were aware of that. Then there's also going to be some in-game events, some digital events. There's going to be a new Moogle treasure trove in-game. We're going to be wrapping one up with 5.55, and then this one will, come for that event. And who knows how long it'll last, but I'm curious to see what rewards are there from it. There's also going to be G-Post stickers that are added for a limited time. They're going to be very specifically FanFest related, as you can see right here. So you're going to be able to do like hashtag Final Fantasy XIV FanFest or add stickers and things like that. They're limited for the duration of FanFest, though. So they're only there for a couple days. So whatever pictures you want to use them for, you better get moving with them real quick. There's also an Uznair challenge. If you tweet them a picture of your team completing the Lost Canals of Uznair, you can earn some in-game rewards. You can use G-Pose or whatever it is you want to actually do for it. That's fine. However, and then Final Fantasy Group Pose Screenshot Campaign, another thing they're actually doing, a screenshot campaign that utilizes the limited time frames and stickers, encouraging you to use them to share your memories with them. Then they're also going to be releasing basically like a cookbook of the Eorzea Cafe. They're going to be doing video tutorials on certain recipes. As someone who's recently picked up cooking a little bit more, doing some of my own stuff and doing some stuff that's like, preset recipes, I actually want to attempt to do these. I just got an air fryer, so hopefully that's going to be something I can utilize for something like croquets, I suppose. And I want to give some of these a shot because I think it's pretty fun. It's been a good stress relief for me, especially. So that's something that I definitely want to take a quick crack at. Maybe in video format, not in stream format, though. Art contest has gone global. The art contest you can't even submit anymore, but always looking forward to see the entries. A lot of talented people enter those. Glamour to Life. This is, I mentioned this earlier. I don't really have anything else to say. That here's the one. Oh my god, Foxclawn. But you can see the more casual examples on the left. He has the Magua hat. He's got the bag. He's not like dressed as the character to a T. But they said they want to encourage people who even just do something like that to participate, because it's a fan fest and everyone should be able to participate. That's nice. I hope people do participate even on that lesser degree too. I gotta break my Blue Mage mask. I think I threw it out, to be honest, my Blue Mage mask. I think it's a little creepy. Let's see. Send us your questions. It's a live Q&A, letter from the producer live. Natsuko Ishikawa, the main scenario writer, will be on for the producer live letter in the second half. She's been a fantastic guest for these in the past, and because there will be translations for everything, very much looking forward to that. She always has some great insights into their development, and she got a standing ovation at PAX West at her first ever panel. So it's always great to have her back. Patch notes, preliminaries come out next week, next Friday. Yoshida will read the full patch notes on the patch day while the servers are down. He does this with every patch, and maintenance will also not be 24 hours. There's nothing majorly important in the patch in regards to timing, so if the servers are up early, the game will be up early. This means I have to be up early in case the game's up early, so goodbye sleep, as I normally have to deal with. Eorzea Cafe is going to be in Nagoya for a limited time. Doesn't apply to most of us who are watching this. Makes me want to go back to Japan, but that's not an option. They also were re-announcing that more shirts and more apparel were being added to the EU store for FanFest because they didn't have as many selections. So I just wish they were all available globally. I just wish that could just be the case. Instead of some here, some there. It's a global, it's around the world event. I just wish we could have them all everywhere, because I would do that. I forgot about this, the Panasonic Soundslayer gaming speaker for Europe, the limited edition one. I would probably just not use it and just have it if I was going to have it at all. And then they just, they said, we hope you enjoy. And that's it. Let's see if there was any extra translations here at the bottom or anything along those lines. God fucking yes, they brought Tiamat back into the story. Thank you, Aluna, for that. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but that's good. Bonus, the gift capture earlier was a little buggy, so here's how it looks when you teleport to other places on PS5. Is this a video? Oh, it is. That bugged me out. It was a gift capture. Yeah, so this is the load time. I appreciate that, Aluna, making a gif of the load time, and bam, already there. I love it. I love that. Thank you, Alunan, for the extra effort to make a quick GIF of the load times for PS5 as displayed by Yoshi P. So, with that, that covers the live letter. Like I said, not really any fluff. This was a straight-to-the-point live letter, which, after the last one, we needed that. We needed that badly. Let me tell you. We definitely needed that. So jump back to the top. Bam! And with that, that's going to be a wrap for our summary on the latest letter from the producer live, letter number 63. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for the trailer breakdown. I'm going to be watching the English trailer for the first time. I've only watched the Japanese one up to this point, and I'm going to pick at the things, and then you can make fun of me for what I missed, because I will miss things. I promise you that. So with that, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one, and until then, take care.